The sea was a vast, inky expanse, stretching endlessly under a brooding sky. The moon hung low, casting a ghostly glow over the restless waves. The crew of the Erebus, a sturdy but weather-beaten fishing vessel, knew these waters well, or so they thought. Tonight, the sea seemed different, charged with a malevolent energy that sent chills down their spines. Captain Elias Harrow, a man hardened by decades of sailing, stood at the helm. His eyes scanned the horizon, a deep frown etched into his weathered face. The ocean was unusually calm, the air thick with an oppressive silence that made even the seasoned sailors uneasy. "Keep your eyes sharp, lads," he called to his crew. "There's something not right about this night." The men nodded, their faces tense with apprehension. They had heard the tales, whispered in the dark corners of taverns, about the cursed waters where ships vanished without a trace, swallowed by the insatiable maw of the deep. But they were not superstitious men, at least, not until now. As the Erebus cut through the water, the fog began to thicken, enveloping the ship in a shroud of mist. Visibility dropped to mere feet, and the crew's anxiety grew. They could hear the waves lapping against the hull, but the world beyond was lost to them. Suddenly, a cry pierced the silence. "Captain, there's something in the water." Harrow rushed to the starboard side, peering into the murky depths. At first, he saw nothing but the churning sea. Then, a shadowy shape emerged, gliding just beneath the surface. It was massive, larger than any creature he had ever encountered, and it moved with a deliberate, almost predatory grace. "Back away," he shouted, pulling the crewmen back. "Everyone, to your stations. Prepare for..." His command was cut short as the ship lurched violently. The Erebus was struck from below, nearly capsizing. Men were thrown to the deck, the air filled with shouts of panic. The ship's timbers groaned under the strain, and Harrow knew they were in grave danger. "What's happening?" cried First Mate Dugan, struggling to his feet. "We're under attack," Harrow replied, his voice grim. "By what, I don't know. But we need to get out of here now." The crew scrambled to obey, but the unseen force struck again, this time with greater ferocity. The ship shuddered, and Harrow felt the deck tilt dangerously. He grabbed the wheel, trying to steer them to safety, but the fog was disorienting, and he had no sense of direction. Then, from the depths, it emerged. A creature of nightmarish proportions, its body covered in glistening scales that shimmered in the moonlight. It had the head of a dragon, with eyes that burned like fiery coals, and a serpentine body that coiled around the Erebus with terrifying speed. The men stared in horror, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. The creature let out a deafening roar, a sound that seemed to reverberate through their very bones. It lashed out with powerful limbs, smashing the ship's mast and sending debris flying. "Weapons!" Harrow bellowed. "Grab anything you can use." The crew armed themselves with harpoons, knives, and makeshift clubs, ready to defend their vessel. But as they struck at the beast, their weapons seemed to have little effect. The creature's scales were like armor, deflecting their blows with ease. Harrow watched in despair as his men fought valiantly, only to be overpowered one by one. The creature's eyes locked onto him, and he felt a wave of cold dread wash over him. This was no ordinary beast. It was something ancient, something evil. With a final, desperate effort, Harrow seized a lantern and hurled it at the creature. The lantern shattered, and flames erupted, momentarily blinding the beast. It roared in fury, thrashing wildly, and the ship was thrown into chaos. "Abandon ship," Harrow ordered, knowing they had no other choice. "Into the lifeboats now." The crew hurried to comply, lowering the lifeboats into the churning sea. Harrow was the last to leave, making sure his men were safely aboard before he climbed down. They rowed away from the Erebus as quickly as they could, watching as the creature continued its rampage. From a safe distance, they saw the Erebus being torn apart, the ship's timbers splintering under the relentless assault. The beast let out one final, triumphant roar before disappearing into the depths, leaving the wreckage behind. The lifeboats drifted in silence, the survivors too stunned to speak. They had lost their ship, their comrades, and their sense of security. The sea, once their livelihood, had become a place of terror. Captain Harrow looked around at his men, their faces pale and haunted. "We'll make it to shore," he said, his voice resolute. "We'll survive this. And we'll make sure the world knows what lurks in these waters." The journey to shore was long and arduous, but they eventually reached land. The tale of the Erebus and the monstrous creature spread far and wide, a warning to all who dared venture into the cursed waters. Years passed, and the memory of that fateful night remained etched in the minds of the survivors. They never returned to the sea, but the legend of the beast lived on, growing with each retelling. Some claimed it was a guardian of the deep, punishing those who trespassed in its domain. Others believed it was a harbinger of doom, a reminder of the dark forces that lurked beneath the waves. For Captain Harrow and his crew, the nightmare was real. The sea, with all its beauty and bounty, had revealed its true nature, a realm of unfathomable horrors, where the line between myth and reality blurred, and the depths held secrets best left undisturbed.